here.
I saw that he had the suicide vest on, and that's when it just went. I was like, oh my God, this is actually a terrorist attack.
In the spring and summer of 2017, Britain was hit by an unprecedented wave of terror attacks. In Westminster,
There's a dog with a knife!
Get down, get back. Parliament's under attack.
Manchester,
Oh my God!
I really thought that I was going to die. I thought it was the end.
London Bridge, and Finsbury Park.
It was just a scene of carnage with bodies all over the floor.
This film follows the effects across the nation as each attack fueled fear about where would be hit next.
The city was on edge today. There was a moment of panic as the Arndale Centre was evacuated.
I'm shaking.
You do wonder when it's going to stop, and you are just waiting for the next one.
Many were left to cope with trauma and loss.
I knew everything I needed to know with one look. Confirmation was there on the slab.
Whilst communities reacted to hatred with resilience and solidarity.
This is the place where we stand strong together with a smile on our face, Mancunians forever, because this is the place.
I first went to prison when I was 18 years old, so government to me was always my enemy. It represented authority, something that I hated when I was a young man. Government, police, judges, that was all part of the establishment, and they was all on the same side. That day, I was quite excited because I was meeting an MP. For me to go back there all those years later, invited as a guest, it demonstrated to me how far I'd come as a person from what I was when I was a young man.
So I was just a tour guide on the open-top buses in central London. The route crosses over the river quite a few times, and the first time we go over is over Westminster Bridge, and everyone suddenly wakes up and starts taking loads of pictures, and it's quite nice. You'd see Big Ben for the first time, and the London Eye, and all these quite big landmarks, all in one eye frame.
It was a special day. We were part of the British Lionhearts team, and what we were doing was carrying out a PR event in the House of Parliament. They had a light buffet on, and myself and my fellow coach saw there was a couple of cakes that were being left and hadn't been eaten, so we quickly darted across because we both got a sweet tooth. So it delayed us leaving.
The bridge was absolutely packed, as you can imagine. Westminster Bridge, 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon. It was absolutely heaving with tourists. And then I just remember seeing a car sort of just mount the curb, probably about 50 yards in front of me. And then the car just straightened up, just revved its engine a couple of times, and then he just floored it.
Accelerating to nearly 80 miles an hour, the attacker purposely drove into the crowds.
People were just going in the air like rag dolls, really. That thud of the car colliding with people is a sound I'll never forget.
After crashing into the railings outside Parliament, the lone attacker then ran towards the gates of Westminster Palace, armed with 2 knives.
As I came out of the building, I could just hear a big fracas. It seemed like a big, massive argument, or probably a bit of a fight. I could see people running, and I'm thinking, Jesus, there must be some kind of Greenpeace activist march.
There was quite a commotion going on. As I looked round, I was amazed, shocked in fact, to see a number of police officers, holding guns up in a particular direction and just started to shout instructions very clearly to us. Get down, get back, we're under attack. Parliament's under attack.
I saw the guy run through the gates brandishing 2 knives because I just remember seeing a reflection, and he held them above his head and he started attacking him on the policeman.
Bring that police officer up! Whoa! What the fuck?
The only thing that dawned on me was those people within that sort of courtyard needed help. So I made the decision to jump over the fence.
Stopping the police?
And at the time, I could only describe, I thought he was a marksman, ran up the side of me.
There's a fucking bloke with a knife!
It was this bang, 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 and I kind of froze. Like, it's hard to comprehend what you're seeing because you just come from Parliament, probably the most protected building in the country.
Move inside the hall! In the hall! He's just been shot!
Just saying something. Get out of the way, mate.
It was so much to take in, what you were seeing, because it didn't seem real. I'm standing there and just watching. And it kind of, sort of like you're in a trance of the situation.
Get back! Somebody's under fire!
I wanted to get to the Speaker to let him know that it was a problem if he wasn't already aware. And that is where I noticed the Prime Minister being effectively bundled into the car in order to take her out by a different route.
Order! I am now going to suspend the sitting of the House. This House is now suspended, but please wait here.
Police thought that, I think, at this point, that it was like an attack from different ends of the building.
Turn me! Turn it off! Get under cover now!
Police tried to clear the area, whilst Parliament was put under lockdown.
Let's go. Police are currently evacuating the streets outside Parliament and with reports that someone's been shot.
We're getting reports of an incident outside the Palace of Westminster suggesting sounds similar to gunfire.
Over 50 people were injured on Westminster Bridge, many critically.
There was a guy probably about 20 feet behind me who, was just screaming out in pain. His leg was hanging off, had blood all over his face, and a woman was attending to him.
There's blood everywhere. Oh, fuck.
Tour guide Danny Singer ran to the aid of retired window cleaner Leslie Rhodes.
When I got off the bus, I went just to the first person I could see who was sort of just lying in the street who needed help. And he was lying unconscious, kind of in the road, but quite near the pavement. The injuries of this person didn't look good. It was a very, very big head injury, but he was still breathing, and I was taking that as a response.
In New Palace Yard, PC Keith Palmer was lying wounded on the ground after being stabbed multiple times.
Some of his colleagues came, gathered round saying, it's Keith, and that's when I've gone to him, Keith, come on, son, stay with us, come on, there's help on its way. When I looked at his head wound, it was very nasty, and it was deep, but it wasn't the worst. The one in his arm, I just couldn't believe the body could just fall apart like that. But then when I discovered that third wound, I thought, oh shit. As we were handed over to the air doctors, there wasn't anything that we could do apart from trying to keep his head stable whilst they carried out what I can only describe as open heart surgery there and then. And, I've not seen anything that graphic in my life. And it was at that point when the air doctor said, unfortunately, we've done all we can, but we can't do anything more. That was it. It was like just a deep moment of sadness. We couldn't do more to help him.
75-year-old Leslie Rhodes was taken to hospital, but did not recover from his injuries.
When I found out he had died, I felt really glad that I'd been able to offer that sort of human-to-human contact with him when he was in that immediate crisis moment. I've done end-of-life care before. It's something that I feel really connected to. Having been with people in their sort of final days and hours, if that's there or if it's not there, it does make a difference to their state of being.
A state of emergency was imposed this afternoon following a terror incident. It is the worst attack in London since the July 7th bombings of 2005.
The man who brought carnage to the capital was identified as Khalid Masood, a 52-year-old with a string of previous convictions for violence and possessing dangerous weapons.
That time I spent with Keith, the attacker was being treated, and that's what I couldn't really comprehend that. I just wanted to look at him, just get a full picture of him. I wanted the worst possible thing for him.
British national Khalid Masood converted to Islam as an adult. He was originally called Adrian Elms.
When I was first remanded, I was kept in a HSU in Belmarsh prison. There was guys in there for terrorism. I was in there with Abu Hamza, the radical Islamic preacher. Like when I was a kid, I sort of attached my meaning of life into crime, and I got lost. This was another man that's been disenfranchised with life, and he's attached that belonging onto a radical form of Islam, and he's taken all those people's lives. He's lost his own life because he got lost in life.
What I can confirm is that this attacker acted alone, and the police have no reason to believe there are imminent further attacks on the public.
I do remember the Westminster attack, and your heart sinks, and mine did, and you hope that it's never going to come up to the northwest of England. That's your hope. Yes, I've got all this training, yes, we can deal with these incidents, but I never really want to do it for real.
We got sent a big white box from the police. Everything that I had on the night was there in individual little bags, like clear bags. You can see where the holes were. It seems weird because when I think of my wounds now, I don't think of them as, you know, shrapnel wounds anymore. They're just there. And then when you look at these, I think, like, oh God, I was actually in, like, you know, a terrorist attack, a bomb, and it's strange. I've been a fan of Ariana Grande since her first album came out. So when I realised that her tour was coming up, me and my friend Amelia thought, oh, we really want to see her. We were desperate to get tickets. It was one of those things where you wake up really early, you get on the site and you wait for hours just to get the tickets. And when we did get the tickets, we were ecstatic.
Nearly 15,000 mostly young fans were on the way to Manchester Arena for Ariana Grande's sellout gig, the largest of her UK tour. It was 8-year-old Lily Harrison's dream to see Ariana play live.
Lily is obsessed with Ariana Grande. She was definitely the reason we bought the tickets, but I think Adam might have been even more excited than her on the actual day. Lily was quite shy. She was a bit more outgoing with adults, really. Teachers would always say she needs to contribute more in class. She's a bit quiet. The concert was amazing. All the kids were kind of screaming. I think even Adam was like screaming when she came on the stage. Him and Lily were really getting into it.
Thank you guys so much. I love you so much.
We were kind of preparing to go as well. We were on the front row of the upper tier. Lily was quite tired and she said she was hungry, so we promised her a McDonald's drive-through on the way home and get her straight to bed.
Oh my God. What's going on? What just happened? What's going on? Oh my God!
We'd looked down and Lily was on the floor, kind of on all fours. And the sign that she'd made, she'd obviously taken it home with her, and that was just covered in kind of dust and rubble. I just remember concentrating on Lily and looking at her, and Adam saying to me, we need to go, we need to get out of here. And I remember shouting, my leg, like, my leg.
What's happening? I don't know.
It wasn't until we started running with her that he was holding her kind of to his chest, and he put his hand on her back and felt this hole in her leather jacket. And she was saying, Daddy, I don't feel well. I really don't feel well.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your time. There's no need to bunch up. There's no problems here. Just take your time and keep exiting the building.
So we got into the car park. It was then that we kind of laid Lily down and we realised that she was unconscious. Adam lifted up her jacket and her T-shirt was just completely red, as if someone had literally poured red paint all over her. And there was just a perfectly round hole, kind of next to the centre of her spine. We could see all into her and I thought, this isn't good. It was so close to all the major organs. And we just looked at each other and kind of thought, that's it, she's gone. Kind of accepted it. So, yeah, it was quite a tough moment.
When I got there, there was still clothing falling to the ground. It was almost dusty because of the explosion, and there was just bodies on the floor.
Transport Police Officer Mark Renshaw was one of the first on the scene. He'd been trained in first aid.
I'd given CPR before, but not in these circumstances, and not with the amount of adrenaline and shock that I had in my body. I had a young girl in front of me. She was immaculate. She was stood there. She had a white dress on. No dust on her whatsoever. I just picked her up and started carrying her out and handed her to a female Great Manchester police officer and said, can you look after her? I need to go back in and help people.
A specialist team of paramedics arrived at the scene.
We knew, this is it. We're going into something big, and this is what we've had all this training for. As we got closer, our team leader stopped us, and then he explained, we don't know if there's a secondary bomb. We don't know if there's anybody in there that's shooting. We don't know if the building's safe because of the explosion. There was pools of blood, bodies of people that didn't survive the blast.
Quick, Corey! Which way?
And in between those bodies, there was survivors with horrific injuries, and they all wanted your help. They all looked at you with desperation in their eyes.
I see man crying, I see man with his leg injured. Like, what's going on?
Some people's bones had shattered. You just couldn't stand anywhere for nuts, bolts and blood. If we stay with one too long, the next one might die. That was in the back of my mind. We have to save as many people as we possibly can.
One male just went out of consciousness, as I got to him. Tried CPR, and if I recall correctly, I think it was a paramedic who just told me to move on to the next person.
Some people's injuries were so incompatible with life, they couldn't be saved. But there wasn't anything I could have done, or even if I was a surgeon, I couldn't have saved some of those people.
I don't remember hearing any flash or bang. I didn't see anything either. It was literally just walked in like normal, and suddenly everything was yellow and I was on the floor and I couldn't see properly. It all happened like very, very fast. I felt very tired. I felt like I wanted to go to sleep, which worried me. I said to Amelia, am I going to die? I really thought that I was going to die. I thought it was the end.
Attention please. Attention please. This is a public safety announcement.
Breaking news out of Greater Manchester, an incident at Manchester Arena. Police have confirmed that there have been a number of fatalities.
I remember being taken on a stretcher down to the triage bit in the train station. I just remember looking up at the ceiling in the train station, and that's all I focused on. I focused on a point so that if I started to drift away, that I'd realise and look at that point to try and keep me awake. But I just remember hearing, people crying around me. And at this point, I know it sounds awful to say, but at this point, I kind of just wanted silence. On the ceiling of the train station, there's a map. And I just remember looking at England, keep trying to find England. And then if I started to drift away, just keep looking at England.
Around 10:30ish, phone rang. I knew from my wife's reaction something was wrong because she literally sprang from the settee and she was asking, sorry, say that again. And this lady was basically saying that there'd been an incident, it wasn't a hoax, and that Lucy was very badly injured. Then the line went dead, and that was it.
Police emergency. Our daughter's been injured at this thing at the end tonight. Right, OK. What's your daughter called? Lucy Jarvis. What's happened? We're not 100% sure yet. There's been an incident. I've got paramedics there.
I made the decision to just go to different hospitals. I think I broke every speed limit going and multiple red lights, but I didn't get out. We were frantic at that point.
32 shrapnel wounds had left Lucy in a critical condition. She was taken to hospital along with over 100 other victims of the blast.
We rushed down to Salford Royal. It was just chaos. And then we went in and she was there lying down and she was awake. She recognised us and we told her we loved her very much. I think we had a minute and then they just said, well, she has to go to surgery now. And we were taken into a room near the theatres where we spent the next 14.5 hours.
8-year-old Lily Harrison was taken to Manchester Children's Hospital, still alive, but severely injured.
Even though she had this massive hole in her back and she had all these injuries, that she was awake, so that was all that mattered to us. And they said, yeah, we're going to x-ray, we think there might be kind of bits of metal inside you. That was when we kind of thought, oh God, what exactly was in this thing? Lily went for hers and she had a bolt, I think it was, inside her. It had travelled from the centre of her back all the way across and lodged into her shoulder. And they did mention at one point just leaving it. And I think that was the point that me and Adam thought, she can't have this inside her for the rest of her life. We don't want her to have to live with that. She's 8. You don't want to have something inside you for the rest of your life that's come from a bomb.
We now know the blast was caused by a suicide bomber, and 22 people, including children, are dead. The death toll means that this is the worst atrocity in Britain since the London tube and bus bombings on 7/7 in 2005.
A single terrorist detonated his improvised explosive device near one of the exits of the venue, deliberately targeting innocent, defenseless children and young people who should have been enjoying one of the most memorable nights of their lives.
In the immediate aftermath of the bomb, several people were still unaccounted for, including 29-year-old PR manager Martin Hett.
He never stood still. He was always on the go, always in a fun way, always up to mischief. Yeah, that's just him, totally fun-loving. As far as I knew, I thought Martin's tucked up in bed getting prepared for his American trip. None of us knew he was going to the concert. So when Louise mentioned the word explosion, I literally flew down the stairs and started watching the news. My husband, he said, there's 20,000 people at the arena. He'll be fine. He'll be drunk somewhere in the gay village. I kind of knew, I have no idea why I knew, but I knew he was dead because I literally could not feel anything anymore. I've always been aware of all the kids, but when I thought of him, there was just no energy. I couldn't sense anything. It was just emptiness. So I knew then he was dead. I saw him the following Sunday at the morgue. He was lying there in a hospital bed, covered up with a quilt. We were left alone in the room with him. There was no, you mustn't touch him. We actually managed to, I kissed him and I hugged him, which was so comforting, although painful.
8-year-old Lily Harrison underwent surgery to remove the shrapnel from her back.
It was quite a few days until she spoke about it. She'd been moved out of intensive care, she was in high dependency, and she'd sat there with the telly and she'd turn it on one morning, and the first channel that came on the TV was the news. He was just kind of watching it, and she said, "Why did he do it, Mummy?"
I thought it might happen again. I just couldn't get to sleep sometimes because it was like really dark and it felt like really scary. I was in year 3 then, but now I'm in year 4. Other class from me, everyone was like, they were asking where I was because they didn't know.
And what did you tell them?
I said, you might not want to know because it was that bad. I didn't want them to have nightmares or anything.
I like to think there's a rovers in the sky where special folk order hot pots and pies. The doors swing open like the gates to heaven. And no, it's not Sally or Kevin. It's our Martin Hett, larger than life. No worries or strife. He says hiya in the only way he can.
There's no time, no clocks. Singing aloud to Mariah Carey on the jukebox. He's smiling. He's proud, and he's saving us a seat because Martin's company is hard to beat.
I think a lot of people felt this could have happened to me or to my child. So, yeah, there was a real sense of togetherness. It felt like we were not alone.
This is a place that has been through some hard times, oppressions, recessions, depressions and dark times, but we keep fighting back with Greater Manchester spirit, northern grit, northern wit in Greater Manchester lyrics, and there's hard times again in these streets of our city, but we won't take defeat, and we don't want your pity, because this is the place where we stand strong together with a smile on our face, Mancunians forever, because this is the place in our hearts, in our homes, because this is the place that's a part of our bones, because Manchester gives us such strength from the fact that this is the place.
Whilst Mancunians turned out in force to show their solidarity and compassion, in the days after the attack, there were a number of security alerts.
The city was on edge today. There was a moment of panic as the Arndale Centre was evacuated briefly.
I'm shaking.
You do wonder when it's going to stop, and you are just waiting for the next one to happen. You're just hyper-vigilant wherever you go, and I am wherever I go now. My eyes are always darting from left to right.
In the aftermath of the bombing, Theresa May addressed the nation with a stark warning from the security services.
It is now concluded that the threat level should be increased from severe to critical. This means that their assessment is not only that an attack remains highly likely, but that a further attack may be imminent.
This is a picture of James, what they said, in his natural habitat. He's sitting on a pavement cafe somewhere in East London. And James in his natural habitat, because he was a Londoner through and through. Do we keep him here as we have? He's with us in the front room. Mila has this impression that he doesn't like being cooped up and kept there, and that maybe we should set him free by spreading his ashes here, there or somewhere.
It's about time that he goes, but...
No, it's all right. I don't get the sense that he's unhappy here.
Maybe we'll keeping him here so long and he probably won't be happy. He's not happy. He likes to be free.
There's mini pots, mini urns. The idea of this is that we take a part of his ashes and we send them to all his friends who are globally distributed, and they will have their own ceremony for him wherever they are.
I don't know, I didn't feel comfortable with that. Like him to be in one piece.
It's not about trying to forget about James or ignore his existence. It's more about the fact that you just want to keep a lid on things, keep a lid on the misery. It's not so easy.
I run a security firm in London Bridge. Been within that area probably for over like 8-9 years. I've kind of built a family there as well, so a lot of the people that work within the market, I've known them for quite some time.
În România munceam într-o brutărie. Venisem să fiu aproape de copilul meu. Copilul meu nu este în Londra, este în afara Londrei. M-am dus, mi-am căutat de muncă, am găsit la o brutărie. Am legat prietenii cu diferiți oameni din diferite naționalități.
I'm based at Peckham Police Station in the emergency response team. I started my shift, I think, about 10 o'clock. Halfway through the shift, a couple of people on my team just asked me and my person I was working with if they fancied a drink after work. And that time I was thinking, well, it's the Champions League final and we had quite a stressful day. So we went to a pub near enough the Elephant and Castle, have a couple of beers, a bit of food, watch the Champions League final and go home after that.
I remember on that Saturday, we was sitting down relaxing. It was one of those days where I even got a picture on my Instagram saying, yeah, it's a nice day. Do you know what? I'm gonna enjoy my Saturday and get ready to go home.
So I ended up leaving by myself, and it was just before they lifted the trophy. So it would have been probably about 10 to 10. And then just walking up Borough High Street, minding my own business, and then suddenly I just hear from across the other side of the road, a man just saying, I've been stabbed, and I've just seen him sort of run and then not sort of collapse on the floor, but sort of stumble onto the floor. So I've looked over, and it was basically 1, 2, 3 of them in a row, and I've just seen them all with the knives in their hands.
Having crashed a van into pedestrians on London Bridge, 3 attackers armed with knives began stabbing people at random.
I called one of my colleagues and he just started screaming. He's like, help, help, I need help. And then I was like, what's wrong? He's like, someone's just been stabbed. So I just thought it was some sort of fight.
Keep moving! Keep moving! Down there!
I was getting ready to run towards there and I could hear people screaming. I could see people running towards me. And I still thought that maybe this is like a big fight that was going on.
Do I stand here or do I just sort of, you know, try and stop one of them? If one of them goes for me, the other two might go somewhere else. You just have to react as quick as you can and make one decision or the other. So as I've just gone running over, almost just barged into the entire group. The first one got me right in the back. The second one's got me across the head, the left side of my face. The third one got me on the right eye. And at that stage, you know, your body just sort of gives up.
La un moment dat, în jurul orelor 22, m-am uitat spre afară, prin geam. M-am uitat că într-o secundă se schimbase totul. Oamenii fugeau, se loveau unul de altul, țipau. Și am zis, băi, filmez să vadă toată lumea ce se întâmplă.
Yes, yes! Give me. Jack, you right, Jack? Jack! You right? Gata să cam! Băi, atac terorist aici! Nebunii ăștia! Uite-ți un pic! Da să cam! Take it with me! Yeah, take this! Take this, yes!
I've looked up. Now I can see the three of them standing in front of me with knives. One of them's come around the side and then stabbed another person. So I've just thought I have to do something. There's something I could do. So I've walked towards them thinking maybe there's a possibility that I could disarm them. Not like I'm Superman, but I felt like I could do more than what anyone else could have done because of training and life experiences as well.
Băi, ce cuțit eu băgat la unul, băi, Doamne! Doamne, eram filmat, cred că. Ce cuțit eu băgat în el în gât. Doi teroriști de ăștia taie lumea pe stradă.
The way they looked, it was just nothing there. It was like soulless, basically. There was nothing behind their eyes. And then I looked down and then I saw that he had the suicide vest on, and that's when it just went. I was like, oh my God, this is actually a terrorist attack. This is actually for real. I was shouting to everybody, run, run, it's a terrorist attack. I've got a son, like, I've got to make sure I get back to him no matter what.
Upstairs, everyone get... Let's go upstairs. Fuck it. Boss, ladies, boss.
The three attackers tried to force their way into pubs and bars around Borough Market, where people were taking refuge.
So at first I heard chairs drop, plates, cutlery drop onto the floor, chairs, as people were running towards the back and away, and eventually I managed to kick it off its hinges. I put my hands up and I started talking to them. And as I said, you don't need to do this, mate. And the ward in the Arsenal shirt came up towards me, and that's when he struck me in the throat. He got me right there, as you can see. And then I got knocked to the floor.
Door supervisor Oziganda had taken cover in a side street nearby.
I kept on thinking to myself I couldn't live with myself if there wasn't anything more that I'd done. And in my head I just kept on saying to myself, no, 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 no. Then I started shouting it, no, I can't leave like people behind, because in my head I started thinking my other colleagues have been stabbed. So we ran back towards them. I was probably we're like 6-7 meters away from them, and the first thing I thought of doing was grabbing the chair. So I picked up a chair, threw a chair at them, and I think by then a few other customers that were in the area saw what we was doing, and we kind of banded together and thought, you know what, these guys are doing it, let's do it. So we literally just picked up chairs, bottles, stools, and the idea was to kind of keep them at bay as long as possible before so the police could come.
Yeah, look, let's give one basket and the cup.
Other ordinary people tried to fight back, including Romanian baker Florin Murario.
Ferească Dumnezeu ce aici, frate. Băi, Florin, i-am dat un basket de la cap de la înzăpăcit.
În general, românii am trăit o viață în care, de fapt, nu știu dacă toți românii, dar eu am trăit o viață necăjită, care viața te făcea în așa fel încât să lupți pentru tine.
Florin, ui făcălețul ăla tare de sub masă, alb. Du-și la Duncan.
Minutes after the first emergency call, armed police arrived and began searching for the attackers.
Oh my God!
John! Pictures!
There was a guy on the floor which they just stabbed, and me throwing the chair at them kind of stopped them from stabbing them even more. And I remember seeing a police officer walking through the market, and I was shouting at him, "They're over here, they're over here."
Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh my God!
Police are shooting.
I was standing right there, like there was a policeman more or less shooting over my shoulder.
Oameni buni, ferească Dumnezeu ce aici. Uitați-vă un pic ce-a făcut la om. Uitați ce-a făcut.
Shortly after armed police arrived on the scene, the 3 attackers were shot dead. They had killed 8 people and injured another 48.
The armed police got us. They cleared the area, and I remember it crystal clear. I'll never forget the sounds. It felt like being in a war zone.
Good evening. We interrupt ITV's late night schedule to cover a developing story, a major incident in central London. Witnesses say a van mounted the pavement on London Bridge, hitting several pedestrians just after 10 o'clock this evening. There are also reports of a stabbing attack.
Keep moving, stay as calm as you can and keep moving.
We've jumped in vehicles and sped to London Bridge. Whilst we're en route there, it's been declared as terrorism. So then we're kind of checking, make sure everyone's kind of got the right equipment with them, if they've got tasers, or make sure everyone's got their stab vests on. So we've arrived and seen other police cars stopped, and we thought we heard gunshots. We were told that there might still be someone around or an active shooter, so we weren't sure what was going on.
Amy Sanders, pregnant mother of 3, was at home near Upminster waiting for her partner Brett to return from a day at the races.
Brett was off to the Epsom Derby. It's something that he has done every year for the last 10 years. It's a big event in Brett's calendar. And I remember actually saying to the boys, if he doesn't come home on time this time, then he better have a very good excuse. Otherwise, I'm locking the door and he won't be getting in.
I've jumped out of the vehicle, and then as I've walked around the front of the van, I've seen a man on the floor in the fetal position, just lying there. He had 3 stab wounds, which were probably about an inch across each one, and they were in a diagonal across his back. I got his name, Brett, quite quickly. So we were all just chatting, trying to keep Brett chatting, kind of talking about his day and how his girlfriend's pregnant and going to give birth soon.
I was scrolling through Facebook, not really taking much notice, to be honest. I stumbled across a post that Brett was watching the Champions League final in a pub in and around London Bridge. That was kind of the first I had any inkling that Brett was anywhere near any trouble.
He'd been searched and had all his clothes cut off of him, and his phone kept going. It popped up Amy, which I assumed was his girlfriend. But I didn't want to answer the phone, because obviously you don't want to worry anyone else that's on the end of the phone. Kept closing his eyes, and so we're trying to keep him awake and saying, no, come on, like, you'll be out of here soon, you'll be in an ambulance. And then they've sat him up, and I was in front of him, he's just fallen onto me as soon as we've sat him up. And at that point, the paramedics said that he's internally bleeding. We need to get him into an ambulance now. It was the realisation of actually, he might not make it.
My next thought was, I know that you can track a person using an iPhone. So we successfully managed to change his password. Just pinged up on the screen that he was at King's College A&E. On the way to the hospital, we wasn't even sure we was even going to get anywhere close. I was 32 weeks pregnant, so that was obviously playing on my mind quite a lot as well throughout the whole experience, was that I needed to try and stay as calm as your body will let you. Brett's mum was saying, nothing bad's happened. I know, I would know, I'm his mum. I would know, I would just know. We managed to get to King's College absolutely fine, but they didn't know whether they had Brett, so they couldn't confirm or deny. And you're thinking, well, why is Brett not coming out to see me? Why he must be here. So we just sat there waiting, and then the priest come walking over to us, and we both at that stage just looked at each other and was like, why is he coming here? But neither of us could speak, and neither of us could. It was just a sheer moment of complete and utter fear. He was just walking towards us, and were just both in complete panic. And he asked us if we would like a nice cup of tea. So that was kind of, whoa. And then we finally got the news that he was there.
It was a bad day all round, but yeah, lost my money at the races, got the wrong train, come back, football, lost my mate outside the pub, terrorist attack, 4 stab wounds. Yeah, one of the terrorists in an Arsenal shirt. Hopefully that wasn't the one that done me.
When I finally see him, we just burst into tears. It was just horrendous. He had wires and tubes and screens and monitors and drains filled with blood that were obviously still coming off of his lung. Just things that you just never have to witness your closest, nearest and dearest kind of going through.
I got one up here into the lung, and then I got three round the back. Right, they're pretty close to the spine, so all 3 of them are half an inch away from the spine, so I was pretty lucky in that way.
And then Brett's dad came in, and there's just something about seeing a man cry, and his dad just walked in and burst into tears, and that was tough to see.
One of the first things I remember is my dad telling me they're all dead, because I didn't know if they was carried on killing people. Obviously, the shots I heard that night was air police gunning them down.
"32 people in hospitals across London, 15 of them in critical condition. And then there are the missing.
I'm sorry, guys. If you don't mind just having a look or show to
Sure.
your friends, my boyfriend's missing since the attack, and we just need any sort of information if you can.
Okay.
If you will see him anywhere.
Okay.
We were there. I don't remember seeing him.
You were there?
Yeah. We're going to visit our friend Jeff, you know Jeff Ho.
Many loved ones are still desperate for news. Gerda hasn't heard from her French boyfriend Sébastien Bellinger since Saturday. And today she's been handing out flyers at hospitals in the hope that someone may have seen him.
Gerda Lapinskaita and her boyfriend Sébastien Bellinger met in the restaurant where they worked together.
His French accent was just that thing that no one could resist. Really sexy and funny. Just really nice voice. Sebastian and two of his friends, they were going for a last drink. They were in Borough Bistro, that exact point when the van hit. They described the whole situation, and they said that last time they saw him, it was on the stairs. So I hoped he ran, he would fight, he would hide, he lost his phone. You would think of any situation where he survived. Like for 4 days, I didn't sleep. I called so many people, I called so many of those helplines. That's where we were contacted by police. So we told them everything what we know. And then we just asked, what they know. They said nothing. Next morning, we had a meeting again. They called us to say that they want to meet up, and they came to my place. They asked for his toothbrush. You kind of know why. They need to check it if it's him. To be honest, they just need to check it. I had hope till the last second. I had hope. I had hope till I actually saw him. I imagine I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna be like, well, it's not him. You did your test, but it's not him. I know him, it's not him. Yeah, but then, I walked in that room and it was him, it was there, and I barely could touch him. I just had to do one thing, touch his nose, and
Brett Freeman was stabbed 4 times during the London Bridge attack and remained in hospital for 3 weeks with a punctured lung.
The terrorists come from East London, Barking, which is literally a stone's throw away from my mum's house. Yeah, I felt a bit scared really, considering we could be having breakfast or in the same places and shopping in the same places and going to school in the same places as them. Obviously, you're double checking, you're looking over your shoulder now. It's not a nice feeling. You're not relaxed in your own home.
Door supervisor Ozzy Gander went straight back to work when Borough Market reopened, 11 days after the attack.
For the first 4 or 5 weeks after it happened, I was literally paranoid. There was one incident where I was with my son and his mum, and we was driving down the road just like 2 days after it happened. A Muslim person stopped a van, and I literally grabbed onto her leg. I started shaking, and I was ready to get out of the car. I don't know what to do. And then she grabbed me, and she's like, nah, it's okay. You're okay. Growing up in Labatt Grove, certain times I would walk past a white person and they would look at me automatically as a suspect. I wanted to make sure that I didn't turn into one of those people where I'm automatically on edge. Like, if I see a Muslim person on the train, I'm automatically like, whoa, this person could be a terrorist.
We now know their names, the terrorists responsible for the London attack.
Met police say Khuram Butt was known to them and MI5. In 2015, he was under investigation, one of 3,000 subjects of interest. But some months later, they found no evidence or intelligence of attack planning, so he was no longer deemed a priority.
I'd just like to say that at the moment I do avoid going into London, and as a parent I definitely don't take my children there.
Don't you think you're letting the terrorists win?
London is not a safe place to be at the moment, it really isn't. And you know, it's just a matter of when's the next one.
The attacks in London and Manchester fueled not only fear. The number of hate crimes against Muslims rose significantly across the country.
On many of the incidents are of vandalism or graffiti. They also include arson attacks and even one homemade bomb.
There's always a backlash against Muslims, and you witness it in people looking at you strangely, not wanting to sit next to you on the tube or on the bus and moving away. It's no longer considered as strange behavior or alien behavior to be treated or to be looked at as a threat. Allahu Akbar. We did receive a suspicious letter with powder and the police had to come. It turned out to be washing up powder, and it was in line really with the message, which was, you know, clean yourself, you dirty sand niggers. There was a sense that something is coming. There was a sense that it will climax into a major event.
Towards the end of Ramadan, Muslims across Britain were fasting from sunrise to sunset.
It was in the holiest month of Ramadan, the last really holiest 10 days of Ramadan. Yassin said he will come back for dinner and he was going to the mosque. And I said, fine, and we would just get on with our lives as normal.
Rakia Ismail fled conflict in her home country, Somaliland, over 30 years ago.
I met Yassin when I first came to England. We were just like friends and Somalis, both refugees. I wasn't really, you know, thinking of having a relationship or anything. And somehow we end up being married after 8 years. And I think that was fate.
Just after midnight, 47-year-old father of 4, Darren Osborne, arrived in North London after driving from Wales in a hired van.
I went to the Finsbury Park Mosque, which was just around the corner, prayed there for my night prayers, and then I decided to go out to just get a tea and some chocolate with my friend. So we were just leaving the mosque and we were just walking down, just past the bridge, and he just says to me that van turned wrong. Something happened there.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, mate. Someone just come with a big van and run over a whole lot of people. He just turned and run over everyone.
How many people are hurt?
There's at least 10 people, man, that run over. A couple of them are stuck under the van.
Some of them are stuck under the van?
Yeah, man.
Right, okay, bear with me.
We got the guy on the floor as well.
My phone rang. His friend spoke with me and he told me there was an attack in Finsbury Park Mosque. A man, I think, is seriously injured or maybe dead, and Yassin is on the floor. I couldn't really think. I was numb.
I try and stood up, I fall down, and then I realized that my leg is something wrong with them.
As soon as I get there, we see people laying on the floor. I see a van that's towards that way, and then everything is just out of hand.
One of the congregation ran up and told us that there was an attack.
Imam Mohammed Mahmood had just finished leading prayers inside the nearby mosque.
And when we got there, it was just a scene of carnage with bodies all over the floor. I remember counting 8 people who had been injured. And then I returned to the attacker. People started to crowd around him, and then I saw a person lean down to hit him. It was really tense and very charged. People were angry and people were jumping on top of him. If you saw somebody mow into a group of people with a van, running them over, a 70-something-year-old woman, a 23-year-old young man, a grandfather, a grandmother, a father of 3, people who had come back from prayers, they're innocent men and women who did nothing to deserve this attack, just like the London Bridge victims.
Some of the guys were holding the guy on the ground. He was big, he was huge. It took 2 people, or 3 people to hold him, pin him down and hold him down. He said, "I've done my bit," and that was actually got a lot of people angry. I believe that he didn't care if he died there on the spot or if he was saved.
That's when I and a group of other men intervened and started to push people back. And we created a ring around him.
Mohammed and several other men protected Darren Osborne until the police arrived.
Who is that up? Who is that up? Who is that up? Is that him? Is that him? It's the police here, don't worry. Don't worry. Calm down. He's a fucking killer, man. Fucking killer!
Police are questioning a man on suspicion of terrorism offences after a van was driven into Muslim worshippers near a mosque in North London. 1 man died at the scene and 9 people were taken to hospital after the attack in Finsbury Park shortly after midnight.
Terrorism has no state, has no religion, has no colour, has no language. And it was only right to label this event in Finsbury Park as a terrorist attack.
He came for one thing, we know for sure, to cause chaos to the Muslim community and the British community, which he did.
There's the guy dying. Put the fucking other man.
A day on, and this is a community coming to terms with yet another terror attack, this time targeting Muslims. 1 man died, and many others are still recovering in hospital.
Allahu Akbar.
10 people were seriously injured in the Finsbury Park attack, including Yasin Hirsi.
I feel anxiety, flashbacks, things like that. I can't do, what I used to do. I mean, all life has changed. In this country, we used to feel comfortable. Everybody used to be doing what they want to do, when they want to do. at the moment, that I think is not really there. It creates more fear.
I have lived 30 years in England. I never ever worried in my life. But now I have more worry. I think the impact is not even measured yet. There is extremists everywhere. It is very worrying for the country, to be honest.
What does it achieve? It's not like you're changing the world, because you're not. And that's what makes it so sad, because there's no significance to it other than cause destruction to people's lives.
I think this has been used as a springboard for, I guess, like fanning the flames of divisions that were already there. This is something that I get quite a lot as a person from the LGBTI community. I get told, but Muslims want to throw you off a building, don't you know that? I'm like, well, I mean, I've been in lots of buildings with lots of Muslims and it hasn't happened yet.
This is what these people want. They want to cause anger, they want to cause division, they want to cause chaos and uproar. And I'm not prepared to give them that. They don't deserve that.
It's been 10 months since Figen's son Martin Het was killed in the Manchester bombing.
I keep finding nails and bolts and screws. These are all the things I've found.
Yeah. I think that's the kind of thing that was in the bomb, wasn't it? Bolts and washers and...
That's the latest one I found. I want to believe it's a sign from him saying, I'm still here, I'm with you. Because it would be comforting, but because I'm not mega religious, a part of me thinks, well, you're only saying that because you want to believe it. So I don't know. That's the answer, that's the truth. I don't know, but I keep picking them up.
Lily Harrison had shrapnel from the Manchester bomb removed from her back. Her physical injuries have almost healed.
She had a counsellor at the Manchester Children's Hospital. He managed to get out of her that she blamed herself, that we were injured. You know, she said, well, I wanted to go to the concert, so Mummy and Daddy were only there because I wanted to go. She's blaming herself for something that a terrorist did. Once she got that out, she was sleeping better, she was kind of herself again. I think it's kind of made her grow up a little bit, and she's kind of just come out of a shell. She's had to deal with difficult things.
I feel a lot safer, and it's really good that people care about us and want us to get well. But now I'm sleeping fine. I have dreams about Vimto ice cream.
There was a while where I just kept thinking, you know, why me? But I tried to look towards the future, you know. By summer, I would love to walk again. I just want to do things that make me happy.
Lucy Jarvis has several more operations ahead of her.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to a concert with a few of my friends. I'd say that I am quite apprehensive about going to larger places, but I feel like I won't be scared because I've got all my friends with me. I just think that you have to try and get over it, and the only way you're going to try and get over it is to go back and face your fears.
Gerda Lapinskaita knew very little about what happened to her boyfriend Sebastian Bellinger at London Bridge, but recently found out that he was helped by passers-by in his final moments.
2 girls were just out on that night. They chose to help. And I'm really happy that those 2 girls were, last ones that Seb saw. Now at least I know how it ended. Now at least I know he was not alone. At least we know he was with someone good. That less people he saw were not the ones who wanted to hurt him, but wanted to help him.
Retired couple Simon and Mila McMullen lost their 32-year-old son James in the London Bridge attack.
James was the salt in everybody's life. He put the flavour back into things. He gave their life a substance and a meaning. It's the little things that trip you up, the unexpected piece of music, the photograph, driving down a motorway and seeing a signpost to a place that he liked to go. The quiet spaces, the downtime when you think, oh yeah, I'm going to go to sleep, and then all of a sudden you'll have a random thought which will lead you to another thought which will lead you to James, and spend another sleepless night. The pain and the hurt of James's departure will never leave me. But I have to manage it as best I can. So, that's what I do, manage it as best I can.